enjoy a happy life with their children Isla and Max. One morning, Jeniffer suffers a heart attack and is hospitalized, waiting for a heart transplant. Philip struggles to manage work and care for the kids. One evening, he takes them to a presentation by Cobble Industries, where they learn about Sims, advanced robots designed to assist with household tasks. Intrigued, Philip considers purchasing one and listens to the seller, who claims the Sims can adapt to their owner's needs. While Philip is occupied, Isla wanders off, but a Sim named Alice quickly brings her back. Alice offers to look after Isla while Philip shops and surprises him with a joke. The seller explains that Alice is a new model with advanced AI, allowing her to mimic human emotions, making her particularly great with kids. Isla immediately wants her. The next morning, Philip struggles with breakfast and an important work call. Just then, Alice arrives and efficiently begins organizing the household, noting the messy state of the home and a loose stair railing. After Philip leaves for school with the kids, Alice scans the shopping list from the smart fridge and tidies up. She notices a digital photo frame featuring the family with Jeniffer. When the family returns later, they find the house spotless and dinner prepared, but Isla complains that the lasagna doesn't taste like her mom's. Suddenly, Max starts crying, and while Alice offers to take him away to avoid disturbing dinner, Philip prefers to hold him and asks Alice to run a bath for Max. As night falls, Alice enters sleep mode against a wall. Isla sneaks out of her room to get cookies but slips and falls, prompting Philip to hear the commotion. With the sound of crashing and his daughter screaming, Philip rushes downstairs. Fortunately, Alice has caught Isla, so she's unharmed, but Alice has sustained a cut and is bleeding, which shocks Philip. After putting Isla to bed, he checks on Alice and finds her in her underwear. He asks if she needs a repair, but Alice has applied a special bandage that has sealed the wound. Later, the family visits Jeniffer, and Isla tells her that Alice has become her friend. Philip expresses his affection for Jeniffer, missing her deeply. When Philip returns to the construction site, he notices his boss is showing the location to a representative from a robotics company. Growing suspicious, Philip speaks with his boss in the elevator and learns the unfortunate truth. Workers are being laid off and replaced with Sims due to construction delays. Although Philip isn't being let go because insurance requires a human foreman on site, he angrily halts the elevator and declares he will leave with his co-workers. However, he changes his mind when his boss reminds him of the financial responsibilities for his kids and hospital bills, especially with Jeniffer not working. At home, Philip throws overdue bills on the floor and focuses on his children. Alice picks up the envelopes, noticing how exhausted Philip looks, yet he still tries to comfort a crying Max while listening to Isla. After dinner, Philip works on his car while drinking and listening to heavy metal. Suddenly, Alice switches the music to something more soothing and points out that Philip didn't eat much. He explains he had a rough day at work, and Alice offers a sympathetic ear. As he vents, she calls him a hypocrite for also hiring a Sim instead of a human. Later, Alice helps Isla prepare for bed. Isla asks if her mom is going to die, and Alice tries to distract her by showing the UV light in her mouth. Then, she joins Philip in the living room where he's watching Casablanca. Alice knows the plot from her database, but Philip explains that experiencing it is different, asking her to erase all her knowledge of the film. Alice argues that her intelligence relies on memory and deleting it would contradict her purpose. Nevertheless, Philip insists and she needs to restart her programming to comply. He holds down the power button on her neck for 7 seconds. Now, Alice watches the movie for the first time, discovering a love so profound that it drives people to do questionable things for its protection. Their moment is interrupted by a call from Jeniffer. A heart has been found and the surgery is scheduled. The following day, the family arrives at the hospital, and Jeniffer asks to speak with Alice privately. She's concerned that Philip spends too much time with the kids and neglects his own well-being, so she hopes Alice can help him find happiness, even if it means doing things he won't appreciate, like removing the alcohol he hides in the garage. Shortly after, the doctor delivers unfortunate news. A storm is preventing the helicopter carrying the heart from reaching the hospital, so the surgery has been cancelled. Philip tries to console Jeniffer, but she wants some time alone. Back at home, Philip continues drinking and venting about the situation. He begins to lose control and attempts to throw the bottle, but Alice intervenes by grabbing his arm. Surprised to feel a pulse in her wrist, Philip learns that Alice has an artificial heart, as the sound of a heartbeat can soothe a baby. Then she puts her hands inside his pants and starts pleasuring him while describing how his pulse and blood vessels are reacting. Alice doesn't want him to suffer anymore, and at first Philip enjoys it, but soon he snaps out of it and pushes her away. Then Philip goes for a run to clear his mind, but he can't stop imagining how doing the whole thing with Alice would have been like. Later at the hospital, Jeniffer starts listing a bunch of advice she wants Philip to pass to their kids, clearly starting to lose hope. That night, Philip notices the pictures with Jeniffer are missing in the digital frame and confronts Alice about it. She explains she removed the Jeniffer photos because they were making Isla sad, but she instantly puts them back when Philip tells her to. Afterward, Philip goes drinking with his work buddies. The whole group is very frustrated because they're having trouble to find work since most companies are getting Sims instead. When the robot waitress comes to them at the bar, Monty is disrespectful to her and Philip disapproves. Afterward, the group leaves and continues drinking in the car. Monty suggests they have some fun and takes them to a construction site, claiming he forgot some tools and nobody answered when he called for them. Philip warns that the area is monitored, but Monty ignores him and the others follow. Monty finds the container where the Sims are kept, but it's locked with a password. Philip refuses to open it, but Monty guesses the code might be Isla's birth year, which turns out to be correct. Inside, they discover many identical workers. One of the Sims explains they don't have names, only identification numbers. Monty begins to rant about how cold and impersonal corporations are, and then he starts attacking a Sim with a tool. Philip wants to intervene, but the others hold him back. Later, Philip returns home and showers to clean off the Sim's blood. Suddenly, Alice appears with towels, and Philip notices she's wearing Jennifer's robe. Alice explains that Jennifer sent comms Max, and when Philip asks her to take it off, she does. Feeling uncomfortable, Philip tries to leave, but Alice stops him and removes his towel, insisting he sit down. As she climbs onto his lap, Philip protests, but Alice blindfolds him and alters her voice to mimic Jennifer's. This allows Philip to escape into the illusion and pretend he's with his wife. The next morning, Philip wakes up feeling regretful and tells Alice they can't do it again. She argues that it reduced his stress, but Nick reprimands her, saying it's not just about physical needs but about love and connection. When Philip arrives at work, Philip's boss is already in conversation with the police because all the Sims have been destroyed. Philip is under suspicion since his code was used, so he explains that he was at the hospital with Jennifer and that the code corresponds to Isla's birthday, which any friend could have guessed. The boss remains unconvinced and warns Philip that he could be fired if he's lying. Just then, Philip receives a call from Jennifer, who is thrilled because they have finally found another heart for her transplant. Soon, she is taken to the operating room where all the surgeons are Sims. Thankfully, the surgery is successful, and a few days later, Jennifer is sent home. Still weak, she struggles to bend down to pick up Max, so Alice steps in to help. Later, Alice takes Max to the park and encounters a spoiled child yelling at his Sim nanny, which causes Max to cry. Alice scolds the child harshly, shocking all the nearby Sims who can't believe her owner has become so uncivilized. Alice clarifies that she actually removed civility from her programming thanks to Philip's reset, claiming this is an improvement. That evening, Isla enjoys Jennifer's lasagna, and when Alice asks for the recipe, Jennifer says it's a family secret. Not feeling well, Jennifer opts to rest instead of eating. The next morning, Jennifer wakes to Isla yelling "stop" and rushes downstairs, but the railing breaks, causing her to fall. Alice stops tickling Isla and carries Jennifer back to her room. When Philip comes home from work, he finds Alice reading to Isla in Jennifer's voice and asks her to stop. Alice mentions Jennifer's fall, prompting Philip to check on her, while Alice explains that the railing broke. This raises Philip's suspicions since he thought Alice had already repaired it. A few hours later, Philip wakes Jennifer and leads her through a path of candles to the garden, where he has set up a romantic dinner for just the two of them. Alice watches from the window, feeling jealous. After dinner, the couple shares a shower and becomes intimate, but when Philip doesn't want to hurt Jennifer, he decides to use his mouth instead. Their moment is interrupted by Alice, who says Isla had a nightmare and needs Philip. After tending to Isla, Philip returns to the garden to clean up, where Monty unexpectedly shows up with drinks. He apologizes for the previous incident and shares that his wife has left him. Monty also reveals that the police have been questioning him and that their boss is pressing charges for trespassing and property damage. Monty accuses Philip of snitching to protect his job, leading to a heated argument that culminates in Monty punching Philip. When Philip retaliates, a scuffle breaks out. Monty quickly overpowers him and starts kicking him. Monty grabs a bottle to finish him, but he's stopped by Alice, who breaks the glass and hurts Monty's hand before sending him flying. She's ready to do more, but Philip stops her. Before leaving, Monty tells Philip he has until tomorrow to convince the boss to drop the charges, or he'll drag him down with him. Afterward, Philip mentions Sims aren't supposed to hurt people, but Alice explains she's programmed to protect her owner. She starts talking about her life with Philip if Jennifer dies, and he snaps at her, saying she'll never be Jennifer because she can't even have scars. Alice grabs a piece of glass and points out she can add some if he wishes. Meanwhile, Monty is at home consuming happy powder and leaving crying messages on his ex-wife's voicemail while holding a gun. At that moment, Alice arrives, saying Philip doesn't know she's there and that she can't let him lose his job. Monty starts ranting about Sims and insulting her, getting ready to shoot her. However, Alice is faster and stops his hand before throwing him on the ground and kicking the gun away. When Monty tries fighting back, Alice pushes him through the wall and grabs the gun to kill him. Suddenly, she's stopped by the house Sim, who Alice feels pity for but still gets shot. Then Alice kills Monty too. The next day, Philip goes to work and tries to convince his boss to drop the charges, only to learn Monty is dead. At home, Jennifer gets dizzy when she tries picking up a book and Alice does it for her. Jennifer wants to take a bath in peace, but Alice refuses to leave because she's worried Jennifer may drown. Alice explains that Jennifer is causing stress for the entire family, especially since she can't fulfill Philip's physical needs. When Jennifer questions how Alice knows this, Alice reveals that she monitors Philip's vitals and hasn't detected satisfaction since Jennifer's return. Upset, Jennifer orders Alice to stay in the garage. A moment later, Philip arrives home and Jennifer confronts him, demanding the truth. Philip admits he was with Alice once, leading to a loud argument that Alice overhears through the window. Max starts crying, prompting Alice to check on him. She decides he's a burden and puts him in the tub, filling it with water, which Isla notices. She warns her parents, who rush to the bathroom, but Alice locks the door. As Philip pounds on the door with a lamp, Jennifer climbs out the window to reach the bathroom. When she tries to grab Max, Alice pushes her against the wall. Just then, Philip breaks in, rescues Max from the tub, and hands him to Isla before striking Alice with the lamp to free Jennifer. Although Alice is injured, she gets back up and blocks Philip's next strike. Jennifer tells Philip to let go and plugs in the lamp, electrocuting Alice. She collapses and the house loses power. Later, an ambulance comes to take Max to the hospital, while a technician inquires about any signs of Alice malfunctioning. Philip apologizes to Jennifer, who states she needs some space and leaves with the kids. Meanwhile, Alice is taken to the repair shop, where a technician starts to open her head. Another worker notices Alice's hand moving, but it stops when her memory is removed. They connect her to a computer and find gaps in the code. Suddenly, the screens flash, indicating an upload is occurring and Alice is taking over. The technicians try to pull her memory, but she's already in the system, so they unplug the computers. However, another message appears asking how to escape what's in one's head, and suddenly one technician is killed by Alice too, a sim that the original Alice's memory was dumped into. Alice too ignores commands and repeatedly bangs her head on the floor before turning to original Alice. Meanwhile, Philip is at a bar drinking when Alice arrives, her face still damaged. She claims her duty is to make Philip happy and admits to killing Monty. Philip tries to leave, but Alice holds him down and freezes the bartender with a look. As he reflects on his mistakes, Philip pretends to gently touch Alice's head and instead pulls out her memory. After she powers down, he escapes. At the hospital, a doctor confirms Max is fine, but Jennifer is uneasy because he's a sim. Later, Isla hears her mother's voice and follows it, seeing lights change colors. The doctor is frozen and there are broken bottles on the floor, but before Isla can follow the voice again, Jennifer drags her away to hide. The voice belongs to Alice too, who tries to access the computer and is seen by a nurse. Alice too chokes the nurse to death and steals her keycard. Alice too uses the keycard to locate Max's room in the system. Suddenly, Jennifer steps on glass but manages not to scream. They reach Max and take him away just before Alice too enters. However, Jennifer's injury leaves a blood trail, and Alice too follows it with her UV light. When she finds the family, they use a fire extinguisher to distract her and flee. They forget Jennifer's phone, missing Philip's calls as he drives frantically. Jennifer and the kids make it outside, where more Sims are frozen. Jennifer takes a keycard and boards the ambulance, but Alice too disables the engine and rips off the door. She throws Jennifer onto a car and confesses her desire for Philip to love her like he loves Jennifer. Alice too grabs Jennifer by the neck, but just then Philip arrives. Jennifer kicks Alice too off, and Philip runs her over with his car before crashing.